All right, this is a pretty remarkable clip. A writer named Ryan Girdusky appeared on a CNN panel discussion yesterday, and they were supposed to be talking about the election, but things took a turn when Girdusky mentioned, as they were discussing crime, he mentioned the Floyd effect, that most people are aware of what the Floyd effect is. You would think, but the people in this discussion were not aware of it. Let's watch that.
Just yesterday, Ryan, about how, in the context of riots, he was saying, let's just bring the military into it to deal with American citizens. I mean, that happened yesterday.
Right, but the post-George Floyd riots resulted in an excess of over 15,000 black male deaths in this country. How?
Yeah.
The surge of violent crime, it was like Ferguson, the Ferguson effect and the Floyd effect.
Respectfully, you got to explain to me how George Floyd's death.
Yeah.
Because I need causation here.
Yes, because what happens is
here.
after the Ferguson riot and after the Floyd riot, policemen, in fear of their jobs many times and political coverage, pull back from their jobs, resulting in an increased level of
listen, I got to stop you there because, hold on.
You can look at the Washington Post.
Ryan, we got to stop you there because you're literally making a connection out of your own conjecture.
No,
you cannot.
It's a real thing.
That.
Look up the Ferguson effect. Look up the Floyd effect. It is a real term.
You cannot.
It's a real term. I didn't make this up.
Invent a connection between two things just because you want that connection to be there.
It's a little like a name. It's a real thing. You can look it up.
Right. It could be a right thing, but it doesn't mean it's accurate. Yeah.
Let's move on because
we use their point.
Look it up. I'll send you a reading list after the show.
Before we move on, I think there's
Hold on. I just want everyone to settle down because people cannot hear at home when everybody's talking at once, okay? Go ahead.
No, I just think there has to be a level of intellectual honesty. And one of the things we can talk about here when we talk about Donald Trump is he's actually somebody who never spoke out about George Floyd's death. And for me, it's kind of personal because as a black man, when you have someone with a knee on their neck for 9 minutes and some change and you're actually calling out for your mother while you're being suffocated on national TV and you are a parent and a son and a brother, that goes along.
Just get the... First of all, you don't know what he's talking about. So let him explain. He's trying. You're saying, well, what are you talking? What is that? What do you, Floyd effect? What do you mean? And he says, okay, well, I'll explain it to you. And then they're just interrupting him. Shut up and let him explain it. You don't know, so let him talk for more than 10 seconds. Shut your mouths and let him explain what he's referring to. And then we get the whole thing from the Bakari Sellers, the guy that was talking at the end there about George Floyd's death was personal. So personal for me. We hear this all the time, right, from these race hustlers. So, it's such a personal thing. No, it wasn't. It wasn't personal for you. You didn't know him. You're not a family member. Like, what do you mean it was personal? You had no idea who this guy was. Never met him. Never had any contact with him. You don't even live in that community. It wasn't personal for you. And so, just leaving aside the fact that George Floyd actually died of an overdose, he was not suffocated on national television. He wasn't on national television at all. It was, he brought his death on himself by first taking a lethal dose of fentanyl and then committing a crime, another crime, then resisting arrest and so on. All of that is established, but just putting that to the side, really, Floyd's death. I wish somebody would. I don't blame Ryan Girdusky for not calling him out on this. I would have loved that if he said, Floyd's death was really personal. Oh, really? How was it personal for you? What do you mean? Did you know him? Were you his family? No, I'm a black man in America. So? Because it didn't happen to you. Like, what kind of, if someone dies, it's personal for you if they have a similar shade of skin? What the hell kind of nonsense is that? And if that's true, by the way, then why is it, if that's so personal, then why don't you take it personally when hundreds of black men are killed by other black men every year? And I know they'll say that, well, it's black on black crime. That's just that's a cliche. It might be a cliche because we're forced to bring it up so often, but it's true. You don't take that personally, do you, Bakari? Anyway, the real point here is that Ryan brought up the Floyd effect, which is something extensively documented, absolutely incontrovertible. It has been documented by CNN. They have reported on it. There are articles on CNN.com about the Floyd effect. So it is a fact grounded in evidence, lots of evidence, that the race riots after Floyd led to a huge uptick in violent crime and many hundreds and even thousands of excess deaths, mostly black men. So, well-known fact, and yet that panel is full of people discussing these issues on cable news who've never heard of this. And I believe them, actually. I believe them that they've never heard of it. I actually believe them. You might think, well, they are just playing dumb because they don't want to talk about it. But no, I don't think they're playing dumb. I think they really are dumb. So I believe their ignorance. I don't think they're pretending. And that's one of the ways that the media, one of the ways that they remain so consistent in their propaganda and that they kind of protect their propaganda is that the propagandists live in a bubble and they're not exposed to, like, all they care about is their narrative, and they just automatically tune out anything that's outside of the narrative. So they really don't even know. They kind of retain this sort of plausible deniability all the time, where they can always plead ignorance, and the plea of ignorance will normally be at least partially true. They really are that ignorant, which is pretty amazing. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.